Well, hello and welcome back to America's Real Estate Show. We are so excited that you've joined us today. And if you're new, if this is your first time, I'm Ashley, your host, and we bring top producers from across the country right here to our studio in Chicago so that they can share all of their secrets to success. And today we have a powerhouse from Florida who has gone from solo agent to leading one of the fastest growing teams in his market. So we are going to say hello to Miguel Diaz.
Hey Ashley, thank you so much for having me on today's show. I'm super excited to be here. Thank you everybody so much for watching today. And I would love to start out with just giving a couple shout outs to the people that have got me here, right? Because I'm super grateful for the people that are in and around my life, starting off with my parents. They've been a support system my entire life. I'm super grateful and super lucky to have a family like them. My real estate team back at home, I know they just finished their team meeting and they're all watching today right now after their team meeting. So thank you guys for helping me get here and helping me lead you. And my beautiful, supportive, amazing wife. I wouldn't be here without her, honestly. And she's at home now, pregnant with our first child. So thank you, baby, for being there for me. And I know you're watching too, so thank you so much, Ashley, for having me.
I love it. Congratulations on
Thank
your little one that's about to come in February.
We are so excited about that.
That is super exciting.
Yeah.
Well, I so appreciate you taking time out of your day to come here from Florida, and we are going to have an amazing conversation. We have a lot to get to today.
Yes.
So I'm going to kick us off with some of your highlights, okay? So just think of this as a little highlight reel for you.
Awesome, thank you.
So in 3 years, you have grown your team to over 50 million in production. You all are on track to close over 150 deals this year. You've doubled your team production in year 2 and now in year 3.
Yep.
You're one of the youngest Zillow Flex team leaders in your market, and you currently lead the #1 team in Florida for Realty of America.
Yes.
So congratulations.
Thank you so much. Like I said, super grateful to have the people around me to get me there.
It takes a village, right?
Yep.
So let's jump in because I know every top producer has a journey. So I would love for you to take us back to that moment in time where you literally took your last dollar and you bet on yourself and you went all in on buying Zillow leads to get yourself started in your business. So can you take us back there?
All right, this is the start of my real estate journey. This is a very, very beginning. I was 25 years old, and just a little backstory before that, I was privileged but humble. My parents, my father was a firefighter, my mother was a teacher. They always had things for us, but it was humble things, and I was able to have privilege because they always took care of me. But at a young age, I really didn't understand that, and I did a lot of things that I shouldn't, kind of like a lot of young people do in their early 20s, right? And getting started in real estate, I was in and out of college, in and out of different jobs. I was 25 years old, and I racked up over $100,000 in debt, right? This is right when I got my real estate license. I had to change my life and things, so I didn't even spend the last of my money, honestly, right? I spent the last of the credit card that I had. I put $7,000 into Zillow Leads for 6 months. I didn't know anything about the business. Got my real estate license the week after. I signed up for a brokerage, and I was spending $7,000 on Zillow right away. And then that led to the bankruptcy at a young age, which taught me a lot about financial lessons and stuff. But I put all the money I had into buying Zillow Leads. I didn't even really know how it worked. I just knew people were on Zillow looking for houses. So I was like, well, this is a way I could meet people. So let me do it. Boom. And it started there. My first 6 months of the year didn't do any sales. Last 6 months of the year really catapulted because the first 6 months was a lot of building, and I didn't know what I didn't know. And like a lot of new agents, you come into the business, you find somebody that is good and resonates with you, and you could really grow and scale your business from there.
So was there a moment in time that you realized that to scale your business, you didn't want to just sell more houses, that this team model really captured your attention, and you knew that that's the path that you wanted to take.
From the very beginning, right, I always would go to educational seminars, right, and I would see the top producer in my area, from solo agents to team leaders. And I always aspired to be a team leader. I loved the camaraderie, the aspect of being there like as a family together and growing. So I guess I always had that mindset from the very beginning. But it was about year 3 when I really kind of understood the real estate business and became a mentor. And I mentored my first agent to success, and I realized, well, this is the path that I need to take personally to grow and get more for the people around me, for myself, for my family, and to be able to impact more lives.
Perfect. So something that you shared with me off camera that I thought was so powerful, you said you need to find your North Star of what influences your people. So can you just share with everybody, what does that mean to you, and how does that North Star guide you as a leader?
Yes, that's super, super important. The North Star is really what moves people, right? What motivates them. Just like when as an agent, you're dealing with a client and you're finding out the deep things that influence them, that moves them in their life, that motivates them. As a team leader, now you have clients as your agents, right? Agents as your clients. So you're able to really dig deep and understand what moves them. Our team, we have a motto: live life by design, right? And it's not my design. I'm not here to tell them what to do. I'm here to influence them on what they want to do. So really understanding the impact that you have on these people. I'm not here to just do systems and processes. I'm here to move minds and influence hearts, right? And that way you could have somebody, they'll run through walls to be successful when they're seen, heard, and understood, versus just being told something to do. So really knowing what really guides somebody in their life and their principles, because as a team leader, you're gonna have all different people. Not one person's gonna be the same. So I really think finding their North Star is super important, and then they kind of develop and join in on the mission of the team, which is to serve people with the highest level of integrity and professionalism.
So do you have a certain process that you go through or you take your agents through that helps you uncover what their individual North Star is?
I mean, it's just talking to them and doing the trainings and the one-on-ones, right? And really digging deep, like with a client, finding out what their goals are, what they want to achieve, who their family is, and really things that motivate them to get where they want to be. Not every client wants to make $1 million. Not every agent wants to make a lot of money, but most do, and most really have the things that hold them back from doing that. And then if you dig deep enough and understand their why and their principles and who they are, and if they have grit and tenacity with the real estate business, you could help them achieve the goals that they're looking to achieve.
So with everything that you've done, you're very intentional, and something that I've learned about you is that you built a framework around your entire system of how you have grown your team.
Yeah.
So a team framework that you call it TLC, which I thought was so fabulous when I learned about this. So if you would, break down what each of those letters means so that everyone just kind of has context for what is TLC, and then we'll dive into each of those pillars, because this is really gonna shape the essential framework of how you did, in fact, build your team and go so fast, so far in just 3 years.
Yeah, so TLC, most people think it's tender loving care, right? And of course you have to have that within your team and your clients. But for me, to really own a team, to really have the team and the value, you need training, leads, and culture. If you have these 3 things, you could run a team. You just have to put the systems in place that help you with the training, the leads, and the culture. Those 3 things, you have them, you'll scale your team fast and far.
Perfect. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about your training. So the first pillar, the T, training. So you know that culture supports growth. And there are three things that you feel every agent on your team must master. So if you would break down what those three things are and why are these three things so important?
Yes, I think actually every agent needs to master these things. It's not just people on my team. It's really the fundamental and breakdown, your foundation of sort as a real estate agent, right? And you need to be the expert at three specific things, and then you'll grow from there. So the first one is you gotta be an expert at the market, right? You gotta understand the market in and out. What are the houses in the area? What are they selling for? What is the neighborhoods? What is it built on? Where is it in flood zones? Stuff like that. Because then if you understand and are able to communicate that effectively with the client, you have information for them. And people are coming to you for information, right? The second thing is the area, right? So you're not just selling the house, you're selling the lifestyle, right? Where's the closest Starbucks? What are all the things to do? Is there parks? Is there hospitals, right? Is there fun? Is it something that your client likes, right? And then you got to understand the process, right? The process on buying and selling real estate. When I first started, I had no idea what the process was, right? I just started buying leads and I was like going like, okay, you want to see a house? All right, great, let's go see a house. But you understand the process, the market, the area. You have the foundation of what it takes to be a good real estate agent, right? And then it goes on to then you start developing and working with people. Understanding people is the follow-up to that. But you need your foundation before you even really understand working with people, because then you get that inner self-influence that you truly believe you're the right agent for that person because you know and you're an expert at those three things.
Right, and you have your agents study this all the time.
Yep.
And isn't there something that you do on ChatGPT to help them really study the areas that they are covering?
Oh yeah, I love using technology. ChatGPT, I used to say, hey, go to Google, right? But now we got ChatGPT. But every showing that they do, they have to take the listing and put it into ChatGPT and just ask what's good to do in the area and then print it out and take it to their client. One, it gives their clients like, oh, this guy's an expert, right? And it teaches them about things that they need to do. And it's very simple. Just go put the address, go to ChatGPT, tell me, give me statistics, what things to do around the area as if I'm a real estate agent wanting to show it to a client.
I'm so glad you brought up technology because you have a super robust tech stack that we'll talk about here for sure on the show. So, but I want to kind of fast forward with this AI role-playing bot that you use, because this was another just kind of tool that I thought, wow, that's really cool. And I wonder if very many people know about this. And I know it's been a real game changer for your team.
Oh, definitely. So we love AI technology, right? We believe it's really the future. I don't think it's going to replace us, but it's going to enhance us. So you definitely want to be on the top of AI, and there's different ways to do it, but this goes into the training pillar, right? So we have this technology called Shiloh AI. It's integrated with our CRM, and what it does is it listens to our clients' phone calls with the agents, and it grades the agents based on their sales skills. So it's a sales-based model AI, and it gives them things that they did good on the phone call, gives them things that they could have done better on the phone call, and then it grades their phone calls, right? And it gives them follow-up tasks to take, right? So it also has the role-playing aspect to it, so you could put in a buyer scenario and speak with the role-playing bot. So what it's done is it's helped our agents become masters at communication, and that's helped on that training aspect, because communication you can't teach overnight. It's a trained skill that you have to go through with individuals, but when you have somebody constantly coaching you, constantly listening, as a team leader before, I was having to listen to their phone calls. And this technology has helped me scale and be able to help coach more agents, and then now we're going over what the AI said, right? And that's what's helping them make mind shift changes and little communication shifts.
That is so cool. And I love how you said that I mean, it's basically saving you time and helping you scale. Whereas you were personally listening to all those calls and now it's being recorded. You can listen to them when you can. And I imagine you probably do some one-on-one coaching and training with your agents.
Definitely.
So is this something that you are then bringing into that coaching session? Are you listening to calls back with your agent and going over, hey, these are the areas that we can improve?
We do it multiple times. We'd even do it in our team meeting. The AI grades the entire team over everybody's calls, over the entire database, and it will tell us what our entire team is doing, right? And then it'll call out different agents on who did good and who did bad. So we'll go over it during our team meetings, right, as a whole, and during the individual sessions with the agents as well. And, you know, as a team leader, I think you have to be in your business, not out of your business, at least for me right now. So I even have times where I just decide, hey, let me go look at this, right? And it's not scheduled. And because I just work. I work. It could be at midnight, right? This is just me, you know, and I'll read these and I'll text my agent at midnight. They know, he's like, Miguel works. They know that about me. So that's a really good tool that I really like to use and help with the training because it gives them the trajectory of growth and it also tells them what they have to do with the client after the phone call. It gives them follow-up steps.
Right. Well, it's like literally having a coach sitting right next to you for every single one of your calls.
Yep.
And I imagine they can access this at any time and it helps them, right? So they can practice. I love that. That's so cool. I really, really enjoy how you're using technology. So another part, you know, kind of under this umbrella of training are your weekly meetings. So talk to us a little bit about those. What do those look like? And if I'm a team leader watching or aspire to be one, what would you say are basically like the non-negotiables in your team meeting? These are things that you always do.
Weekly meetings are super important. They're super important for the training, but also for the culture. Right? Because like I said, our culture is one with high professionalism and integrity. So we all want to get together. Me personally, I do 2 team meetings a week. One virtually, one in person. Right? So let's go over our in-person team meeting. And this is actually for both, but we always start with going around the room and asking for a win. Right? Because we think the wins are what people should be focused on. When you come in with negativity, it already starts the meeting off at a bad start. And in our in-person meetings, we actually have developed like a system to where right after we share a win, you know, whatever team leader's leading that section, we'll say, let's go. And everybody claps in unison. It's kind of like this thing that kind of gets us in our spirits and gets us ready to go. I know when the claps are off unison, we're kind of a little out of sync there for that team meeting. So we have to put a little more effort and energy as team leaders to kind of get their energy back. But we always start off with wins. That's a mandatory start. And the in-person meetings, we go over our numbers. This is kind of like our sales focus meeting, right? So we're always going over our numbers. I work a Zillow Flex system, but I think every team leader has to understand what their lead system is and help the agents be accountable to that lead system. And at the end of the day, you have to be accountable to it because you're the one investing in this for them to do the work and get paid, but it's really your money as the team leader. And you don't want things to fall through the cracks. Your profitability could go down if you're not measuring, right? So we're always measuring, then we go over our numbers, then we go over the Shiloh, right? And then we do a training right after that. And that's our in-person team meeting. It could be lending training, it could be title, it could be market, it could be communication. We have different experts come in. Even sometimes we'll do new construction experts, right? Because in our area, that's really big. And that helps you with the market, right, to understand it. And then our Friday call, that's our accountability call. So we all get together in a room. We still start off with our wins, right? And then we go over like our numbers, like, so Tuesday's sales numbers, Friday's activity numbers, right? Like how many calls did you make? How many appointments did you go on? Because there's 2 things that you're measuring, right? Like the actual client track and then your actual activity as an agent. So that's what we hold people accountable to on Fridays, right? Their metrics on what they're doing. And it's very important to keep that in front of every agent. It helps them, put each other up or help each other out when somebody's going through something. We're all super transparent and we're all there for each other. It creates that culture and bond as a family that takes agents to the next level. And I'm super happy with the agents that we have, that we've gone to the next level with. And then we just open up the floor there. That's their time to ask, about questions and issues that they're having, because we truly believe that in these accountability calls, when we open the floor up and give them power, hear them, the other agents learn from them, right? And then finally we end off with the goals, right? What goals do you have for this week? So on Tuesday, we check in on you and make sure you're hitting your goals.
And your meetings are about an hour, hour and a half?
Hour and a half usually. It's been more like an hour and a half lately because we've grown. The team has grown, so there's more people to communicate and talk now. So
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm so glad that you brought up leads, because that is the second pillar in your TLC. So let's talk about that. When it comes to lead gen, would you say that there is like a magic number of strategies that a team leader should really master and have their team focused on?
Well, I think it's super important, Ashley, if a team leader, if you're starting this off, right, and just building a team, right, or growing your team, that you really master one lead strategy, just one, right? I know people say don't put all your eggs in one basket, but you're not doing it forever. You're doing it to scale, right? And if you scale with that one lead source, whether it's sellers, buyers, online lead gen, door knocking, cold calling, if you really, really master that as a team leader, right? Because I'm still selling my team's leads, right? And then you could scale and teach others how to do that. And even if it's not something you're giving to them, right? Even if it's something you're not building yourself, and you're that type of team leader that you're teaching them how to build it themselves, that's another route as well. That's not what we focus on, but that's another way to get leads, is to teach how to get leads. There's a lot of team leaders that are super successful that way. I think it's a little faster if you built a system around already having the leads that you could give and pass off to agents and hold them accountable to.
So one is the magic number.
Yes.
So even if I master that one thing, then do I maybe add something else? Or are you saying, nope, just pick one lane that you're going to be in terms of you giving out leads to your agents, and then your agents, maybe they have an additional lead source as well? Like maybe they're nurturing their big database, maybe they're doing something. Is that what you're saying?
So there's one style, right?
Okay, one
so
style.
Like I do online buyer leads, right? But there doesn't have to be one specific source, and that only one specific source forever, right? So I have focused on one specific source for online buyer lead gen throughout the entire building of my business so far. And as I grow, I am going to add more online buyer lead gen sources, right? So I'm still sticking to that one style, but maybe not the same source, right?
Okay, gotcha. So maybe dig just a little bit deeper for us and talk to us about the one style. So give us some examples on what maybe that could look like.
So buyer lead gen, right? I'm just giving my example, right? What do? We look for buyers that are ready and able to buy houses and are coming to our area. And there's different ways to do that: Facebook, Instagram, Zillow, Realtor.com, Homes.com, all these different platforms. You could do Google advertising, but they're online buyer lead gens. I'm not going and telling my agents every day, go master and crush an open house. We tell them, okay, you could do open houses, but we're saying master and crush the online lead source that we're giving you, because that's right here in front of you, ready to go, right? So we're not kind of taking them from that style. So as a team leader, you really kind of want to focus on that one style of lead, right? That one specific lead that you're looking for to help crush and help your agents grow and really become super profitable at that.
And would you say that the team lead really just kind of needs to look at themselves and figure out, hey, this is, everyone likes to know, I like to use the term zone of genius. So if they're looking at themselves and saying, okay, what is my specific zone of genius? Do you think that helps them decide what type of source to build their team around for lead gen?
Definitely. When you're first starting, or maybe when you're at the beginning of building your team and you haven't had your lead source yet, for your teammates, you got to figure out what you're good at, right? Because if you want to lead, you want to lead from the front. Most agents are leading as team leaders, leading from the front until they get to the point where they have people that they hire to lead, right, and do the work. I'm at that stage where I'm 33 years old. I'm just in this business for a little bit of time, and I was an average solo agent going to team leadership like right away, just maybe $8 million in sales myself, the biggest I've ever done. I was a part-time real estate agent serving, right? Just that last year before I started my team, that's the 1 year I went full-time as a real estate agent. So yeah, I think that's very important.
I love it. Okay, so let's dig into metrics again, because you are phenomenal at tracking all the data. And I think this is really important because you have to track and know your numbers. You have to know, because that feeds into productivity. It feeds into everything, basically. So let's talk about best practices. What are the best practices that you see that you would really advise team leaders to measure for their agents' performance and success? What does that look like?
Yeah, so as a team leader, for you really want to measure profitability, right? You really want to measure profitability of the lead source and the agent, and you could kind of combine the two, right? So how much is it going to cost you for all the operations, including the leads, for the agents to work it, and how much are you making? You're really going to want to make a certain amount of money to make this successful. You want to make it twice as much as you spend, right? At least twice as much as you spend. And you're going to have your own sales business if you're just starting off like I do, which is on the side. So it's kind of like a different business, my sales business and the team sales business. So I really think that you're going to want to measure profitability. How do you do that? You take all your systems, all your lead gen source, right? And you're not going to have profitability in your first year. You're starting a new business, right? It takes time. Just like when I bought Zillow Leads at the beginning, I wasn't profitable, at all. Maybe at the very end of the first year, it made sense, but you're going to want to start measuring your profitability. But until you get to that point, until your team starts selling, right, you're going to track everything that you spent. And then when you start making money, that's when you measure profitability. But before that, you really want to measure two things: agent's activity and the client's process, right? So you got to understand, all right, this is my lead source. This is the style of lead. We got to understand, where is everybody in the process, right? And you measure and track your agent's tasks, right? What are they doing? Are they making the phone calls? Are they moving people along in the systems? Are they doing text, emails, all these things? And that what leads to the client process. And then you could look at your entire database and see if you're going to be profitable, right? Because you could see, all right, I have this many people in making offers, right? My database is 10,000. I have 2 people. That's a very low conversion, right? So you got to get better at those things to make the profitability make sense.
Perfect. And what about just individual metrics for your agents? So we have profitability, we have conversion. What else do we have, just kind of in general, that you're using to track your agents?
So we use our systems, obviously. Systems is very important when measuring things, right? Because I can't go and click it myself, but we're measuring the calls that they make, the amount of texts and emails that they do. Really big thing is the appointments that they set, because if you're not measuring how many appointments you're going on, then you're not measuring really like the real activity it takes to get somebody. I mean, maybe you could sell a house with just never leaving your thing and being on the phone, but you got to go meet people, right? So the appointments are very big. That's the highest, because we have a scaling system of points. Like an appointment is worth 100 points, a phone call is worth like 2 points, You know what I mean? So, and then every week during our team meeting, we go over, oh, who's the leaderboard this week, right? But really the appointments, the phone calls, the text message, the emails, those are the trackable items. And then it goes into like how many offers and how many contracts that they have.
That's perfect because
Yeah.
obviously that leads right back to the conversion.
Yep.
So you're really starting out how many appointments are they going on, and then essentially what are they converting from there. So you can really dig in and see, how successful they're being in each of these activities.
Yes, and I think every agent should measure this. I mean, before I started my team leader journey, I was measuring this for myself. Like if you want to be a team leader and measure for other agents, if you're not measuring it for yourself, you're not going to be successful at it. So that's why you got to have the vision of leadership, but imagine you're leading yourself, right? And what would you want as a team member if you were the leader for yourself?
Perfect. Okay, so let's talk about your tech stack, because I know there are several systems that you use to really operate your business. So let's just walk through some of the key ones. And I wrote down Trello. Let's start with Trello.
Trello is super important. We kind of had this all over the place before Trello. Well, Trello is amazing for having data in a specific place. Training data, market data, information on the brokerage. So it's really just a board system that we use to give the agents a place to go and get answers that they need, right? So if you need, hey, I need the broker's information, go to Trello. It's right there, boom. Type in broker's information, it's right there. I need to know how to write a contract. Right here, it's in the training, right? The process, right? And that's all our virtually videos and stuff like that. So it's a mixture of information that it's a really good place because your agents, when you're growing a team, they're going to be dependent on you for a lot of things, right? For everything, right? And you're going to want a resource for them to go to that has, if not all the answers, as close to all the answers as possible. So that's kind of like our training cultural data hub, right?
Okay.
So that's what we use Trello as.
So I'm glad you said that. So it's essentially, we need to think of it as like your training hub.
Yep.
And I know that you're doing a lot of video-based trainings that you're putting in there as well, as you just said. So pretty much anything and everything that you can think of that an agent would need training on, it's all going into Trello.
Yep.
All right, perfect. Okay, how about your CRM? Everyone's always asking, what's CRM?
CRM, there's a lot of awesome CRMs out there. The one we're using on our team is Follow Up Boss. It has a really good integration with the Real Scout, which I guess I'll go ahead with, is our nurture tool, right? So it integrates with Real Scout, Shiloh, and our lead system very, very well. So that's why we're using Follow Up Boss. It's a great tool because it also tracks data, like our leaderboard and our data that we're tracking for the agent's activity is all in Follow Up Boss. So it helps communicate with clients. We can send video messages through there. It's a really intuitive system.
Fantastic. And then I know you were just starting to mention, tell us more about Real Scout.
Real Scout, best nurturing tool I've ever found out there. It's like amazing. This is how we send market reports, houses, lists to clients, the valuation of their house through this system. It's integrated to our CRM, and that's really the ways that we're staying up to date in front of people and making sure they're getting what they really want. At the end of the day, we do coach our agents, like systems are just that, they're systems, right? You still have to go in and follow up with the people with what your systems are doing. They're not gonna do the work for you, right? But you could set it up to help you achieve the goals that you're trying to achieve.
Mm-hmm. So you just mentioned that it's by far your most favorite, and I know you've tried a lot of tools. So
Yeah.
maybe at just a high level, can you identify for us what it is that you love the most about Real Scout versus maybe some of the other tools you've tried?
Really, it's the user experience on the client end, right? They have used the tool more so than any other nurturing tool I've tried. I've even tried to directly send stuff directly from the MLS. It's just the emails and the way it's presented to somebody, and when they click in and try to get the information they're looking for, it's as close to as, I mean, as is probably a controversial, but Zillow, right? Because Zillow is what most consumers love to see, right? They love to see the information on there. So it's as close to what I think, a really good user and platform. And it's good for the back end too. It's simple for the agents to understand.
Perfect. So great client experience.
Great
which
client
We
experience.
definitely want to make sure that they are having a fantastic experience. Okay, how about your transaction management system?
I love this part because I don't do any, right? So it's really important to set up operations for your team, right? Training, leads, and culture are very important, but that can't work without operations, right? When you have the operations that understands the systems around it, right? What is it really a system? It's parts that all come together to achieve a specific goal, right? And those parts could be technology, could be people, it could be anything, right? So for our transaction management system, we use SkySlope with a transaction manager, right? So we use technology and people, right? SkySlope is a really good transaction management system that allows us to send clients, contracts, all the important information they need. We upload that. This is how we get the information to our broker. But we have a transaction manager that we outsourced actually. Originally, we outsourced someone from Africa. But now we have an agent that retired from the very beginning, the first year I started a team. She went out to Spain, and now she's our transaction manager. I love the lady. She's amazing. She's great with all our agents. She's a person, like really our only employee, right? That makes sure all the contracts are up to date, make sure everything on the transaction's going smoothly. And, she is an agent, so she knew a little bit about it, but we created SOPs around the tasks that we wanted her to perform, right? And it's very simple, right? You got to understand a transaction, but when you create SOPs, it's really just a checklist, like do this, do this, do this, do this. And with her job, she doesn't have to think too much because it is a simple process of just getting the information needed, giving it to who is needed, and making sure the transaction's closing smoothly. And then still it's on the agent to do all the negotiating.
Mm-hmm. And then your lead source.
Zillow, right? The monster that everybody either hates it or loves it. Well,
Okay.
I love it, right? I've built my team around it, right? I started with it back in 2018. It's not cheap, but it's a way to grow and scale like tremendously. I'm sure there's a lot of people on here that might want to get Zillow Flex or want to be a team leader in Zillow Flex. And my advice would be to really influence the company Zillow. When I first got started, I mean, most people would say you have to be spending $20,000 a month. I was spending $1,000, $2,000 a month on Zillow when I got invited to the Zillow Flex program. Really, if your market allows for it, go ahead. Make that investment. Be part of the market-based pricing if they have that availability. Hit the system. Do everything they want. Track your numbers. Talk to your advisor. Get that invite, right? You don't have to be spending. I mean, maybe you get noticed for spending $20,000, but that doesn't mean you're automatically going to be successful, right? That's just you throwing a bag at Zillow, right? That's it. But start where you can. Right? Zillow's an amazing lead source that if you put the work and effort into, I guarantee you'll be profitable. Hundreds of agents across the country are profitable with it. And, really get in there and build the influence with the company. Show them that your team's doing this. Oh, and you have to have a team, right? They're not going to let you to Zillow Flex as a solo agent, at least not right now. Not that I know of, but they're only letting teams in it. So if you want to grow and scale and using a big platform like Zillow, they're looking at those team leaders that are operating an efficient machine, efficient team.
Perfect. Well, and truly your whole system that you've built and designed, a lot of it really came from what you learned working with Zillow because they had a lot of requirements that you had to meet. So I love that you're able to share really kind of the behind the scenes inside track. So thank you for sharing that with us. So if I'm an agent looking to join your team, tell me what you're looking for.
There's a lot of things, right? And because every agent's at a different level. So we don't discriminate based on new experience. Obviously, we love the experienced agents because they're faster to the money, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's true, right? I've had new agents that come in that blow experienced agents out of the water. So really what I'm looking for in these calls is tenacity, right? The ability to be consistent when the times get tough, to have grit, right? To be able to be past that next step and really not quit, because most real estate agents quit, experienced or not, they quit. They quit real estate, they quit the team, right? And if you hire the right person and you understand their level of tenacity, right, you could really have a good feeling on are they gonna be able to stick with it when the time's tough? And you do that through interviews and asking the right questions, understanding their DISC profile, asking them questions like, when was the last thing that you struggled with and how do you overcome it? You know? Or when your plan A fails, what do you do? You know, and then I like kind of throwing in there at the end, like making it tenacious right there. And then, well, man, I don't know. I don't really think a team's good for you. What do you think? You know, kind of throw that objection to them. And if they're able to be tenacious and really say, no, man, this is for me, man. This is where I want to go. This is what I want to do. I'll show you this and stuff. And if I see that tenacity, that's really kind of like the backbone of what I think somebody needs in their. Can it be built? Yes, right? But when you're looking for people to put on your team, you want them to be a little tenacious. That's what I would say.
Absolutely. Okay, yeah. And how about red flags? You know, you mentioned that you are doing and you have some type of interview process. Mm-hmm. So through that discovery, just as you are finding the person, like, you know, something inside of you says, okay, yes, this person is going to be great for my team. What are maybe some red flags that other, you know, team leaders or those aspiring to be could learn from you on really kind of what to look out for?
Well, Ashley, I think you never know exactly right off the bat, but you want to get their level of commitment, right? Their level of commitment to your vision, to your lead source, and to you as an individual, right? And that's easy to ask by just asking questions like, can you be at the team meetings? Can you commit to being at the team meetings every Tuesday and Friday? Yeah, agents have jobs, right? And those are agents that you really have to be careful when hiring as a team leader, because they're not going to be tenacious enough and committed enough to being successful in your system. We've had that with our growth, right? Agents that have had jobs and left the team because of jobs, you know? And we've had agents that have left and then came back. So there's a lot of red flags. And as far as commitment, when you feel like somebody can't be committed to your vision, your culture, your growth, then they're not even committed to themselves, right? Because if they were committed to themselves, they'd be committed to that. And then maybe if somebody is a little, they think about the money too much, right? Because being part of a team, yeah, as an agent, you make a little less than if you were doing it yourself, but you invest nothing into the systems, the processes, building it to where it's at, you know what I mean? And if they start talking about the splits and the money up front way too much, that's another red flag, because you're going to have issues down the line with that person.
Gotcha. So I'm curious, do you have them sign any type of contract?
Yes, we do. We have a team contract built out by an attorney that really protects us. I think it's super important that if you really want to have a real business, a sales team, a team that you could sell, right? A business, an LLC that you could sell. Like I say, if I said, hey, look, I want to leave real estate, you're the team leader, buy my business from me. You're going to have contracts with people in place, because if you don't have that, then you're not selling your business, your sales, right? Your database, right? I could sell a fake team, right, which is no contracts, to a person, and then all those team members leave, and then that person's, you know, they're not really getting anything. So it's super important. And it's super important to hold to the values of your contract. And if people aren't doing the things that they do, you get them out.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, perfect. So let's switch gears and just talk for a minute about operations because
Yeah.
super important. You know, you are running a business. So what would you say are some smart, I'm going to call them best practices for a team leader when it comes to their budget? And let's go all the way back to where we started with the TLC, trainings, lead, culture. How would you suggest they allocate their money? So
Okay.
kind of break down the percentages for us.
It depends on what level you are, right? But let's say if we were starting from the beginning, right? And let's just keep it very, very simple. You need TLC, right? You need trainings, you need leads, you need culture, right? And then you need the systems behind it, right? So I always say that 20% of your budget should go into training, whether that's outsourcing specific trainings, using the systems to train your agents and like Shiloh and stuff like that. So 20% of your budget should go into the trainings, right? 60% of your budget should go into leads, right? That should be your main thing. That's really what's going to scale you. If you put a lot of money into the leads, right, you get more opportunities. So you got 20 and 60, that leaves 80% left. And I would say that 20% goes into culture, which is kind of a little bit like operational systems, right? Like transaction management, because that's kind of part of the culture and the operations. So just to keep it simple, 60% leads, 20% training, 20% culture.
Okay, perfect. And how about commission splits? I'm sure that there are tons of questions out there
Oh, yeah.
on how to structure commission splits, which I'm sure there's a bunch of ways to do it. So if you had to just pick and, you know, I don't know, maybe what would be your number one piece of advice to a team leader, someone aspiring to be a team leader, how they're going to kind of structure their commission splits? Just,
Right.
and you don't have to go into specific numbers, just maybe just a general principle.
First, you got to understand your budget to understand what you got to do to split, right? Because if you don't know how much you're spending, you're not going to know how much to ask for, right? You don't know what value you give, you're not going to know what to ask for. Really, you're going to have to understand your numbers, and you're going to try to make 2 times what the agent costs you to have on the team, right? So, and each agent could be a little different too, because they could have a little different level of leads, right? So if one agent gets this amount of volume of leads, and one agent gets this amount of volume, this agent costs more to have on your team than this one, because the training and culture is about the same, but the leads is a little different. So understanding where that agent is and making twice as much. So if your split is 50-50, 75-25, it depends on what you're spending, right? So, and what makes sense for you as a team leader to put your time and effort into scaling individuals. But you always hold the power because you're the one providing what they need and want. If they didn't have that, they won't have much. Most people that are joining teams, it's because they don't have the people around them. And it's the value that you give off. I mean, some people charge a lot and don't even give off enough value. So that's my opinion. There's a lot of good teams and not a lot of good teams out there. But if you're giving the value and you're understanding your numbers of profitability on each agent, right, then you could kind of build your split out. Easy way to start, go 50-50. I mean, really, that's probably the easiest way to start. Agents don't have a problem with that. And that's after all brokerage splits and stuff like that. It's just depending on your market, your sales volume, the data, and all that. So that's kind of a simple answer for that.
Okay, and it's what I think I heard you say is at the end of the day, your rule of thumb is 2x.
Yeah, you
Is
want
that
to make
right?
it twice as much as it costs to have the agent,
Okay,
right? You know, like say, for example, my team, right? If I look at each agent a year, it costs me about $1,000 a month per agent, and you know, so I need to at least do one sale, right? You know, which will double how much I make on them, because I do a 25% split, so I don't even take that much money from the agents, right? So if I could get agents to make one sale a month, then I'm profitable on that individual agent. So you're going to have different levels of profitability, right? Some agents are going to be more profitable, and other agents are going to be less profitable. That's why you're going to have individual agent profitability and your home team profitability. And at the beginning, it's not going to be profitable. So don't expect it to be. Right? It's going to be not profitable. These agents are going to have to grow and build to where they're getting 2 sales a month, 3 sales a month, right? And then getting sales from lead sources that they've built, referrals that they had, or something like that. And that's what makes your profitability goes up, because you didn't spend anything on that, right? I have several agents that close their own deals, and they love closing it with the team too, even if they brought them themselves, because we provide the tools, the training, and the resources to help them get those deals to the finish line.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so Miguel, don't go anywhere. We're gonna take just a super quick Mortgage Minute break.
Okay.
So live streamers, I'm so excited to welcome to our show a 30-year veteran in the industry who's gonna let us know what's going on. So please say hello to Miss Irma De Leon. Hey, Irma.
Hello.
Hello. Miguel, I'm so thoroughly impressed on how you run your business.
Thank you.
The first thing, I always like to use the analogy of a car, right? So you got your Fords, your Cadillacs, and then your Ferraris. It almost sounds like you're running your business like a Ferrari. I love the systems you have in place. You know, early on in my career as an entrepreneur, I learned that systems is save yourself time, energy, and money. And you've done exactly that by all the processes that you have in place. And I love how you've created that culture too, because sometimes we can get very systematic and forget about the people that are running the business, right, for us. And you've done a wonderful job just, marrying the two and being as successful as you are.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
congratulations. And thank you for flying out here from beautiful Orlando.
Yeah, if anybody wants to visit Disney World, come on by.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Hi, my name is Irma De Leon. I'm a 30-year veteran in the mortgage industry, and I have a true passion for it. I'm also the Executive Vice President of SunWest Mortgage and a proud single mother of 2 incredible sons. The last 3 weeks, I've been talking about how we go from purchasing or the contract and purchasing a home all the way to now. Last week, I talked about the lender. So I use the analogy of a relay race. In a relay race, there's usually 4 what they call legs or 4 laps. The first lap was with the realtor, who gets all the documentation in with the executed sales contract disclosures and the buyer's agreement. Then the second lap was with the buyer or the borrower, and that would be getting all the proper documentation in so we can fulfill the conditions. We then are on the third lap, so the baton gets passed over to us, and we are the lender. So the lender will clear all those conditions, order the appraisal, and then issue what I said last time were my 3 favorite words, clear to close. So when we issue the clear to close, the party hasn't started yet. It's just going to get to the beginning. So now we are going to pass the baton over to the title company, and then they will do their job in this whole transaction. What happens as soon as we get a clear to close, all parties, so if you're in an attorney state, that would be the attorneys would coordinate the closing. So therefore, the title company will then send the closing confirmation. If you're not in an attorney state, it would be between a realtor and the title company. They will coordinate that, and then the closing confirmation goes out. Super important that closing confirmation is sent over to the lender in a timely fashion, because we want to make sure that we prepare the closing package right away. So as soon as that is coordinated, we then are notified through that closing confirmation, and then at that point, we will start coordinating the final figure with the title company. So this is all happening behind the scenes. I know you're eager to get to the closing table, but there's still some things that need to be taken care of. What happens during that time? The seller's attorney will send in their figures to the title company because they're the neutral party. The lender will send in those figures as well, and then they get balanced out. As soon as that closing disclosure is balanced, then that's when we have the final figure. Now, one of the things that my team likes to do is we always review that closing disclosure, not only on the behalf of the buyer, but our realtor partners. We want to make sure that your commission is reflected on that closing disclosure. So you may want to talk to your lender partner to make sure that they're doing that for you as well. So as soon as that's balanced out, the closing package is then sent to the title company. The title company, everybody comes together on that closing date. The title company then sits down, or the attorney sits down with the buyer. They sign all those documentations, and a lot of it right now is still with that nice pen to paper. And when they do that, Right as soon as everything looks signed, you get funding authorization from us, the lender, and then there is where the party starts. The keys are then handed over to the buyer, and the celebration begins. So if this helped you out, or if you'd like me to, talk about any other thing that you might want to know with lending, feel free to DM me and you can get that on, send it to me on Mortgages by Irma on Instagram, or on Facebook, it's Irma De Leon. And I'd be happy to get one of my team members to help you out, or I'll personally help you out as well. So remember to continue to thrive in 2025. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Irma.
Love that.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. Save yourself time and money. That was
Yep.
great. She always has the best analogies. That was fantastic. Okay, so I'm going to go into a few, I'm going to call them just rapid fire
Awesome,
questions,
let's go.
okay? And then we'll wrap it up. So
Okay.
if I'm a solo agent and I'm aspiring to be a team leader
Yep.
like you, what am I looking for within myself that's going to be an indicator, a good indicator that I'm ready to do this? Like, let's go.
You got to have a deep desire to help others achieve their dreams, right? If you have that deep desire to help others achieve their dreams and through that achieve your own, then you really kind of have that basis of what a team leader needs, at least the visionary on the team. I mean, you could be a team leader and be really good at operations. All you need is to find a good business partner that is a visionary with people and caring about them. So it's, it depends on who you are, but for me, it was the deep desire to help other people grow.
Okay, perfect. And you mentioned this earlier, which was perfect. You said value proposition. And I actually did write myself a question asking, what do you think is the most important value proposition that a team leader could have to attract agents? Not only attract them, but then you want to keep them as well. So it's like attract and retain. So what would you say would be maybe one of the most important value props?
I think having a good culture, right? Leads, they could come from anywhere. Training could come from anywhere. But your culture and who you are and who your team is going to attract your tribe, right? You're not going to want to be around people that aren't your tribe at the end of the day. So having that good culture set up is really, to me, one of the most important value propositions, right? And you do that by just inviting people to come to your culture, inviting people to come to your trainings, inviting people to come watch videos like this of you as a team leader, and they're going to see your culture. And people are going to want to be with the people they want to be around.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So just, to talk just a little bit more about culture, how important do you think it is to connect your agents to the overall company culture as well as your team culture? And do those typically end up being the same?
I think it's super important to be part of a company culture. It's something bigger than yourself. Your team is never going to be, depending on what you want it to be, right? But you're going to always have some hierarchy culture, right? If it's NAREP, right, something like that, or your company's culture, depending on if you're a team and you're a broker or not. But it's super important to connect because you're going to create all valuable relationships and your team's going to grow, right, from the other relationships that they've built within the company. And it helps build your company, right? So it helps you give value back to the company that you're part of when your team's part of the culture as well.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. All right. So a lot of people would say that building a team means training your competition. What do you think about that statement?
I think it's a little of a falsehood, right? It's only competition if you make them a competition, right? Really, it's collaboration. I don't care if you're selling houses and you're not with my team. I'm going to sell a house with you because we all collaborated in this market. We're all collaborative, right? And I would love for somebody to be successful enough from my team to go and make their own team, right? Because then it shows me that I did the work that I was supposed to do. My goal is not to have a team to have employees, right? My goal is to move hearts and minds and have somebody achieve a life of their dreams that they haven't before, right? And I've always said that I want to have 100 agents making over $100,000 a year, right? Because then I'll be responsible for over $1 million in income for 100 different families. you know? So if I could do that for others, and then yeah, obviously people are gonna come and go, right? That's just the nature of the business, the nature of sales teams, right? But if you have that intrinsic value in you that you wanna help somebody achieve their life by their design, you could use your team. And a lot of people are gonna stay there for a good amount of time, a year, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. I mean, I haven't had it for 5 years, but I've seen other teams that have agents there for 7 years, you know what I mean? Eventually, people are gonna move on. I mean, that's just the nature of the business, in my opinion. But if you have a good culture, if you have a good leads, if you got a good training, they're gonna be retained for much longer.
Right. And I love how you have said before that you just view it as someone has graduated from the team.
Exactly.
So it's really just a beautiful experience. You know, they've graduated from the team.
Yep, they come from mentorship to the team mentorship, right? And the team system, and then they're ready to kind of create their own system. And I love when agents do that because it really shows the growth that they had, and the team was part of that.
Absolutely. Okay, there's another saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. So what is your number one piece of advice that you want to leave with everyone today?
I want to let everybody know that no matter where you're at with your business, if you want to achieve it, you could do it, right? 33 years old, didn't have the backbone, didn't have the structures, didn't have anything in place when I first got started, and built it throughout, right? I don't really suggest doing that. I suggest doing it the right way, but if you want to achieve it, you could do it, right? Just put in the effort, and everything falls into place. But you got to find the people that is going to align with your vision, right? And I'm lucky and at a place where I have the people and the overall leadership that's going to take me to where I want to go.
Well, and as you mentioned at the very beginning of the show, I mean, you really had a passion for this. It was always something that was within you. You always knew that you wanted to lead a team and really empower others. And you've done that in such a beautiful way. Congratulations again on all of your success. It's amazing what you've done in just a short 3 years.
Yep.
So I can't wait to see where you are a year from now, and we can have a whole nother conversation.
I would love to come back and teach more about how the team grows, because I'm going to continue to grow, right? And there's so much more that we could do for our individuals that are part of our groups.
Well, thank you again. I mean, you have doubled every year since you started your team. And so, I mean, you're just, the trajectory just keeps on going up. So
yeah, next year I'll be double again.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your entire model with us. And I hope that we've inspired a lot of hearts and minds today for those solo agents that are out there who've been thinking about building a team. And I hope that this is their, their sign.
Yeah, and I'm a resource too. Feel free to reach out to me whenever, guys. I'm here for anybody on this call, right? If I've changed one person's life today and they're going to change their mindset and start a team, reach out to me. I'm here for you.
I love it. And tell them your Instagram handle, and I know our production team will put up a QR code as well.
Yeah, it's Miguel A. Diaz Official.
Okay.
So Miguel A. Diaz Official, you'll see me there, blue check mark. You just pay for that now, but yeah.
All right, perfect. Well, thank you so much for sharing and telling everyone, hey, reach out to me. I am here for you.
Yep.
I'm here for you to help you start your team.
Yes.
That was amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much,
This has been a great conversation. And for our audience that's here, we're going to go into our private mastermind session, which I know that they are absolutely going to love. And for all of our live streamers, thank you so much for being with us today. I can't wait for you to find out who our next top producer is. And the best way to stay in the know is to follow us on the gram. So America's Real Estate Show on Instagram, and as well as our YouTube channel, America's Real Estate Show. You can subscribe, and we have all the replays from every single show that we've done on our YouTube channel. You can catch this one and watch it again because Miguel gave us so many nuggets. So thank you. Remember, this isn't just a show, it's a movement, and you are a part of it. I can't wait to see you next Friday. Bye for now. All right, Miguel, thank you so much. This is amazing.
Thank you.